Hi, this is Dr. Charles White. This is our second podcast in a series of podcasts I'm going to be doing on a weekly basis. I'm here with my engineer, Daniel Weathersby, and today we're going to be talking about three different subjects that I feel are going to impact your life very, very soon. Little of my history: I did over 22 years in the United States Navy. I was a law enforcement officer, a corrections officer, I should say, for Orange County, Florida, Division of Corrections for 15 years. I'm a three-time published author, and I enjoy doing speaking tours. So today we're going to talk about the first thing. It's called the government and you. Now, the first principle of government, the first responsibility the government has to you is to protect you and your family. Everything else comes next. Everything else comes next. The question is, however, are they doing that? Are they really doing that? When was the last time you had an opportunity, no matter where you may live, to go to a town hall in your local community, sponsored by a politician, either local, state, federal, doesn't matter? When's the last time you went to one? When's the last time they even held one? When was the last time you received a piece of correspondence from those same people? Telling you this is what I'm doing, these are the things I'm accomplishing, that type of thing. When was the last time you had a face-to-face conversation with them? Now, more than likely, the answer to the question is never. Never. So when they go to Washington, D.C., the only time they're interested in talking to you is when is the time for them to get reelected. That's the only time. That's it. Other than that, they could care less what you have to say. They just don't care. And let me give you a couple of examples of that. There's a couple of issues I've had. I live here in Tennessee. A couple of issues I've had, and I try to contact my local senators about spam calls. Now, all of us, I don't care who you are, you get spam calls. They are annoying. They never seem to go away. So I've called and said, can we not find a solution to this problem? Can we not pass legislation that will eliminate this incredible annoyance we have in our life? I've called several times. I've talked to the regional offices, Washington, D.C., everything else, and they say, well, we'll look into it. That was a year ago. And I've yet to hear back from them. They're never going to look into it. I know that. You know that. Everybody else knows that. They're never going to do that. That creates a problem for us, because when they go to Washington, and one of their primary responsibilities is to either develop, institute, or vote on legislation affecting you and I. Every law they pass, in one way or another, affects you and I. And when they do that, they have to take into consideration our hopes, dreams, values, aspirations, goals, all those things, our values, all those things that are important to us. Right? Exactly. But if they don't talk to you, if they don't even make an effort to talk to you at all, then how would they possibly know how to vote? The answer to that question is they don't. They don't, because when they vote, what they are doing is they're voting how they feel about the legislation, how they feel about the subject matter. And then quite honestly, I don't care how they feel. I really don't care. It's not their job to vote how they feel. Their job is to vote how we feel, their constituents, the people that elect them. That's their responsibility. And right now, they're not doing that at all. So we're really not being represented, are we? Not really. And this has been going on for decades of time. This is not what our founding fathers envisioned for us at all. So the next subject I want to talk about is the border. Now, the border is a huge problem in this country, and it has been for a very long time. Very long time. You always hear people say, we need to pass immigration reform. I have heard that God knows how many times. We need to pass immigration reform. So far, we haven't done anything. We've done absolutely nothing to pass immigration reform. So the Biden administration comes to office, and they have the idea of just completely opening up the border. I don't care where you live. It could be in any country on the planet. Come on over. We'll let you in. And they just stream through that border like there's no tomorrow. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people, now in excess of 2 million. And we have no idea who they are. We have no idea where they went. We have no idea about their history, their background. So far, the Border Patrol has managed to stop 64 terrorists on the terrorist watch list trying to get into this country. The last time we forgot who we had here, it resulted in 9/11. Isn't it convenient how quickly we forgot about that? And I promise you this, if this continues for the next 2 years, we're going to have another terrorist attack. That's going to happen to us. And when that does, you're going to have to blame the politicians that supposedly represent you. They allowed this to happen to you and your family. It could be anything. It could be another 9/11 attack. It could be a chemical attack. It could be a nuclear, small yield nuclear device. It could be anything. Anything. And the problem is we depend on our FBI, don't we? We depend on them to protect us. And now, when I was in law enforcement, the FBI was the premier agency. Everybody liked the FBI. They did a quality job. They did thorough investigations. They tracked down criminals. They made arrests. They did all those things without any preference to a party or ideological affiliation. That's not their job. Their job was to protect us and prevent crime or make arrests. Today, that's no longer true. That's no longer true. The FBI is at the bidding of the Biden administration, much like the DOJ. The DOJ is supposed to be independent too, by the way. They are anything but independent. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, that should be rather obvious to you by now. The border continues to be a problem as we bring drugs into this nation, killing thousands and thousands and thousands of our kids. So now this begs the question. If our government will not secure this border, then we must. Am I wrong? Is the American people going to have to step up and say, we've had enough of this? We're not going to do this anymore? And we'll go down there en masse and close that border whether the Biden administration likes it or not. We're doing that to protect our kids. It's quite obvious the Biden administration doesn't care less about your kids. Otherwise, they would have done something about it. And they haven't. Can you trust your government today? That's my last question. Can you trust your government today? Can you trust that they're going to protect you? Can you trust they're going to be on your side as your advocate today? The answer to that question is no, they're not. Your government could care less about what happens to you. They're more concerned about getting elected. They're more concerned about their ideological balance. They're more concerned about voters that vote for them and will tell them anything they choose to hear. That's what the government has become today. That eliminates you and I almost entirely. It's an us and them. It's why the Senate and the Congress of the United States, when polled, has a dismal, like less than 5% approval rating. Nobody likes them. And there's a good reason for that. Because they're no longer on our side. They haven't been for probably the last several decades. They have not been on our side. We the people, remember? That's how that thing was written. We the people run this government by the people, for the people. Can you honestly tell yourself that is what's going on around you today? No, it's not. So before I close, and I know all this stuff is controversial, and I'm probably going to get a huge amount of emails, but that's okay. It's food for thought. Food for thought. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. And why? Why I'm wrong. Don't give me any of this, you're a terrible human being for even bringing this up. No, I'm not. I'm just simply telling you the truth. Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care what you are. I'm telling you the truth. And today's society, they shy away from the truth. They don't want to hear it. Well, they're going to hear it from me. I didn't spend the majority of my life defending this country just to see it die on my watch. That's not going to happen as far as I'm concerned. Now, before I go, I want to encourage you to go out and look for my 3 books I've written. The first one is called Destiny's Challenge. The second one is called The Rise and Fall of the American Dream. And the third one is called Consider This. Look for the author, Dr. Charles J.A.Y. White. They're in paperback, about $15, $16. You can get them on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple. They're everywhere. I've enjoyed talking to you today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. You take care and have a terrific week. Bye.